Well, good morning, and thanks for having me. As we all know, in the beginning, it was uncertain to define and plan everything during the hard COVID time. Now, like any other countries, we're struggling with the post-pandemic economic challenge and opportunities like any other countries. In other words, we could say the time proves the pandemic is more than a health crisis. It is becoming more information and socio-economic crisis in many nations. So the government of Mongolia is working on to take all the necessary measures to prevent from further escalation of pricing and working on to implement its six-point recovery policy.
If you, okay, and I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about what that six-point policy. I mean, inflation. The last read is 14%. Do you have a target for inflation, and what would be the roadmap to move that 14% figure lower?
Well, pandemics substantially affected our economy, in particular cargo transport, which made 2,100 job places vulnerable for the first time since 1990s. Mongolia's economy shrunk by 5.3%, and budget revenue decreased by 23% in 2020. So the GDP in 2020 is projected to be 23%, and also in 2023 it is going to be 5.6% respectively. Once again, the COVID case harnessed and its challenges are over, economic challenge caused by geopolitical nature is emerging. So due to which inflation rate is currently at 14% and prices are rising.
Right.
So we have only two, sorry.
Deputy Prime Minister, given that inflation remains elevated, would you like the central banks to raise rates in a more aggressive way to contain consumer prices?
Well, to contain consumer prices and also to take some control measures, the government of Mongolia submitted the legislation draft to the parliament, and which is going to be reviewed next week to be passed by the government. So in order to do that, we also at the same time working on to implement other projects, which is introduced by the government. In one way, we are shifted from a life-saving into a livelihood-sustaining stage. Our government launched a six-point economic recovery policy for encouraging investment, increasing job placed by developing domestic industries and supply chains, and creating economic and business-friendly environment. So,
Mongolia is keen to get its economy back on track, and it is considering opening up the country to even unvaccinated travelers. And what's the thinking behind that, and any apprehension at all?
Well, we're open. The Mongolian government eased all the COVID restrictions, and gradually we opened all the economic activities. So we are promoting the economic links and improving economic relations, and also all sectors are now reopened. So having unvaccinated or vaccinated, there is no difference. So if travelers come to Mongolia, we can reopen. We have access to all the travelers. Yeah.
Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, my understanding is that your government, as it pertains to the price levels and the inflation story, partly blames the sanctions on Russia as partly fueling that inflation story. I just want to understand, if you could clarify for us, what exactly is Mongolia's stance as it pertains to Russia and your relations with Russia, and what's going on in Ukraine separately?
Well, Russia is our neighbor. Mongolia has comprehensive strategic partnership with the Russian government. And we have very good relations, and we don't have any unresolved political issues, but within the framework of the comprehensive strategic partnership, we're still maintaining good relation with the Russian state. Yeah.